All right, we are live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Insert More Coins. I am Rowdy, and I have the amazing author of The Forsaken Planet, The Son of the Prophets, and the soon to be released next week, The Dark Element, Mr. Bryan Wilson. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
Absolutely. How's the week been going for you?
It's been going. A lot of work and a lot of marketing trying to push this book release coming up. So I think this is the fourth one of these I've done in the past week, and it's so I'll have a nice little break after this leading into the release.
That'll be good. I'm sure. I'm sure you're tired, let alone
Yeah.
your normal day job, and then
Yep.
also now you have this one.
Yeah. A little bit. It
Yeah.
hasn't been too bad. These are fun, so they're not really tiring.
Yeah. Well, first off, I'll say I have got a cough still. It'll eventually go away. I'm sorry, but we will try to push on. But I guess first, because I personally have not got to read any of your books yet, so maybe you can explain everything about the series that you have and all that to the start.
Yeah, so my series name is called Power of the Stars, and it's pretty much a science fantasy space opera. That's how I like to market it. I consider it a 50-50 genre blend of sci-fi and fantasy. I think it's pretty equal. It is it's readers have likened the first book to Ender's Game meets Star Wars. I think that holds pretty well. It's the series itself has been called Wheel of Time and Space by other readers. I think there's Red Rising vibes to it, Band of Brothers vibes to it. These have all kind of been influences on my work. And the story really just starts in the Forsaken Planet, and it follows a group of young guys. They're friends. They're in their early 20s, and they kind of get caught up in what is basically an alien fleet arrives in Earth's skies. They're on contemporary modern-day Earth, and a few places are attacked. They get caught up in this, and themselves, along with everyone on the planet, comes to learn that this fleet that came, they're actually humans that are operating the ships, and there are many other worlds out there that humans live upon, and these other worlds have always known about Earth's existence, but they've purposely kept themselves hidden from us. And there's reasons for that. And the main one is everyone on these planets can control a magic system, my magic system, which is called Solera. It's the power of the stars. It's basically almost the Force, but everyone has it.
Yes.
I had another reader who called it, what they call it. They called it the One Power from Wheel of Time in Space.
Okay.
And so their technology, everything about their planets is basically run by this power. And because of this, they're much more advanced. And so that is why they have always kind of just looked at Earth as the Forsaken Planet. And they keep it, they've always kept themselves separated. But there's a power struggle going on out with these other worlds. And this power struggle has finally led them back to Earth's doorstep. And it's kind of now pinned Earth in the middle of what is really this looming universal war. And there's this chosen one trope that comes into play, and it kind of catches up our characters into it. And that is really what launches this whole thing into gear.
Awesome. That sounds great. I definitely have to get to those for sure.
Thank you.
Let's see who we got. We got Josh in here already over at book. What's going on? And he says, sounds really cool. Where's the best place to get your book?
So best place is probably Amazon. It's funny. I've had some other people asking this recently. I'm pretty active on Bookstagram, and I had a post that did pretty well today, and I had some people asking it, and they, I always say it's kind of depend, because they were like, oh, I'm always wondering what's the best place to buy for an indie author. And I always say it really depends on that author. Some authors try to go like the social media viral route, and they'll have their own bookstore, and, they'll sell signed copies and all that themselves. And that's probably the easiest way to make a profit as an author.
Mm-hmm.
And, a good way to build kind of that more personal approach with readers. But for me, my strategy has always been to try and catch that Amazon algorithm. So I always divert all sales that way. And plus, with my schedule, I wouldn't be able to do an online store. It's just a lot of extra work on top of it. So I just don't think I'd be able to handle that on top of. I'd have to put some writing to the side, which I wouldn't want to do. So I always just tell people for my own, head to Amazon, because I'm always trying to get that push on that algorithm over there.
Yeah. It's to me, it's one of those things. It's hard to, because people get mad about, well, I don't really want to support Amazon, but it's a double-edged sword, because it's by far the best way to sell stuff and to get stuff out.
Without a doubt.
But it hurts people also, so it's
for sure. Listen, I'm beefing with Amazon right now. Like I've been back and forth with their support for the last 24 hours. All of us ready to murder each other, I think, just because I have a sale going on right now, and this was my strategy going into my release. Was I put a lot of time, a lot of resources into building up for the days before my release, and I started a sale on Wednesday, and my strategy was to put all the focus into buy book one during this sale, and I'm hoping that's going to kind of snowball my series. And give it a little algorithm push going into I'm hoping to build that snowball, and then on release, let it go. And maybe it creates that avalanche. It's hopeful thinking. It's hard to do, but if you're going to go on Amazon as an indie author, that's kind of the approach you have to take.
Yeah.
So my sales been going absolutely phenomenal. I've had my most daily sales yesterday. I had about 5 times more than I've ever had in a single day before.
Heck yeah.
I'm on cloud 9. But at the same time, I'm looking at my rankings, and that's the whole point, is you only get that algorithm push if you get the rankings jump.
Yeah.
And my rankings aren't moving. They didn't move all day. They stayed at the same number. Like I didn't sell any books. And so I still don't know what's going on. I have my theories. I won't get into them here, but it was just, I'm not happy with Amazon right now, but I'm still telling people go there, because it's still catching that algorithm is by far the best way for an indie author because if you do catch it just right, it just takes the marketing away from you. They start showing your book in certain searches. As long as your cover and your landing page sells that book, you're golden. If it sells, they're going to keep showing it, so and that's really your only chance you're going to have at kind of that wide mainstream success is if it actually sells. And I've always gotten praised on my covers. I've been confident on my landing page. So I think it would. I just want to give the series that chance. So that's why I'm always still pushing towards Amazon.
Yeah. Well, you already got a sale tonight.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I hope you enjoy it.
What's up, Scott? Some other character? What's going on? So, excuse me. Can you tell me about, since book 3 is coming out next week, can you explain a little about it without giving anything else away? Is that possible?
I'll have to think about this. I mean, this right here is book 3. It's the Dark Element.
Sweet looking cover.
I market this as Red Rising meets Band of Brothers. Those two are definitely most in this book, especially the Band of Brothers theme. It was very important for me in book 1 is a pretty heavy training novel. And that's just because I'm not a fan of writing, I'm not a fan of when I read a book and the characters got to learn to fight, learn this magic system. And it's like they go off to some training camp or something, and two chapters later, they're professionals with it, and I feel like that's kind of like what they do nowadays in modern day writing because of, the attention spans are a little slower, but I can't stand that. I tried to write my series as realistic as I could. And for me, I have these normal fool kids who banter around with each other. I mean, they're in their early 20s. They're not kids, but these young guys who are constantly joking around with each other, they're going off to learn. They're going to basically what's a futuristic fantasy world to try and learn a magic power, not just learn it, but learn to fight with it. For me, I needed it to be a good amount of training in book 1, just because I wanted it to be realistic for what was going to come later. You would actually believe these Earthling kids did this and are capable of doing what they're capable of doing later. I think that's probably been one of the largest praises of my book, is just kind of the growth. A lot of people feel it's really natural, and that's what kind of draws them into the stories. They're almost feeling like they're reading, if it was them and their friends when they were 20s, if they went out there and this happened to them, it's believable in that sense of like, okay, we're not just suspending belief here and saying, oh, they're pros now, they're great. It earns its spot to get there. And so I would say for book 3, especially, you have heavy training in book 1. And don't get me wrong, it jumps into the fold in book 1, and it really jumps right into things in book 2. But a lot of what I installed in book 1 in that training with that, I say band of brothers because during that training, I built this heavy, strong bond of camaraderie with the people they come to meet and with the people they're training with and all that stuff. And that really comes to a head in book 3. And it's very much a war book, I would say, book 3 almost, because it's the first time the scales reach a certain point. It's tough. I'm trying to talk about it without spoiling anything. But
I know it's hard, especially, being the third book.
yeah. But it's all my books are space opera. They are, think sci-fi space opera meets epic fantasy. I've always been predominantly a fantasy reader in my life. But I've always had this love for sci-fi. And like I read when I was younger, Ender's Game, and it was one of my favorite books. And so that has always been my hope, is to kind of take a space opera story and turn it into an epic fantasy story, really. And that's why I try and do with this. And that's very much what my books are like, in book 3 especially.
Yeah. Did you talking about like sci-fi and stuff? Have you read Hyperion?
I haven't. I've been told a bunch of times I've been told a bunch of times that's the one I got to get to. It seems to be a lot of people's favorites, and
it is. I don't even know how to explain this. It's the weirdest book I've probably ever read. Like, I'm trying to even think how. It's like 6. It's almost 6 contained stories.
I've heard this.
They're all going to this one place called Hyperion.
Okay.
But it's 6 individual stories where, excuse me, the first one is in Hyperion, like the first story, but the rest of them, you don't even hear much about Hyperion until it just all shows up, like they're there.
Yeah.
But the ending is what got me with it all. It's like, out of all, I'm not going to give it nothing away on it, but it was,
yeah.
Oh, I tell you, it's so weird. I don't know. Like, I know some people like, who is it? Biblio Theory.
Yeah, he loves it.
That's his favorite book of all time.
I know Aaron well, and I know he talks about it all the time. He's obsessed with
it. Now, I'm curious if
do they all combine? Like, do the stories all come together? Or are they just basically separate stories just set on this same?
Well, I don't.
Oh, is that
I feel like there's 2 things. One, I think I need to reread the book. And 2, like for real, like I think I need to reread it to understand it more. But 2, I'm hoping book 2 explains more of what's going on.
Okay.
Because it's like, it's just out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, because I posted on X about it too. I was like, I don't know if I love this book or absolutely hate it. I can't tell. So it's so weird.
I have to read it one day. I know it seems like it's a favorite for at least, especially the indie community that I'm part of the bubble, I'd say. I know a lot of people are constantly talking about it.
Yeah. Well, all right. So what would you say was your inspiration in writing your books?
My inspiration would probably be, I said many of them before, but it would just be, I started reading when I was 12, and I remember I read The Hobbit. I got assigned it for 7th grade, and it was the first book. We were supposed to go home and read a few chapters the first weekend. I took it home. I read the entire thing that weekend. I loved it. I was obsessed with it. I went in the class the next day, or next Monday, and I said to the teacher, "What's more like this? I want something else like this." And she was just like, "Funny you say that." And I jumped right into the trilogy after. And I just grew up as a reader, especially getting into my teens. It was kind of my getaway, and it was my main hobby. It's what I love to do. And that was my biggest inspiration. Was I was reading a lot of these books, and I started getting to the point where I've always had a big imagination. Even when I was a kid, I'd be playing with toys and it wouldn't just be smashing them together. It'd be this whole intricate story. I'd take over the room and have this whole story with it. And so it just felt natural to me. When I was reading and stuff, I could start almost seeing where these books were going and whatnot before they even got there. And I kind of just told myself in my head, I felt like I could do this. I felt like I could be a writer and I wanted to give it a try. It seemed just as fun to me as reading. So that's what got me wanting to do it. As per like influences into my story, it's the things I said. Ender's Game, I love that. Always been a big Star Wars fan. That played into it. Red Rising, that came a little later. I had already started my book after I read that, but I love that series. It's one of my favorite series. Golden Sun is probably a top 3 book of all time for me. And so I, a lot of that influenced much of my series too, especially the later books. I almost feel like my book 1 to book 2 shift is much like Red Rising's book 1 to book 2 shift, whereas book 1 introduces everything, it sets the stage, but it doesn't ever really throw you full force into the universe that's built and the world building. You would learn about a lot of it, but you don't necessarily see it from Daryl's point of view, right? He's kind of in I forget what it is, games or college, whatever it is in Red Rising. He's in that the majority of the time. And my book 1 is very much like that because, as I said, it's very much a training novel. Now, I think I made it exciting and fun because there's crazy simulations, like think almost Ender's Game, but think much more mature and much more gritty and just kind of in your face, hand-to-hand combat. And but it's really book 2 where they're suddenly launched out into what is this just crazy, really war for the stars that's going on behind the scenes. And so that was Red Rising was definitely a big influence towards driving me towards my story later on as I started to get deeper into it. But other than that, Wheel of Time is my favorite book series ever. I don't know if that'll hold up. I read it. That's just kind of been what I've been saying since like my late teens, early 20s when I read it. I just read it at that perfect time in life, I think, and I'm too stubborn to change it at this point. But I love that series. I love the themes of it. Matt Cawthon is my favorite character by far in any book ever, so I definitely try and model parts of that into my own story, and that's why when one reader called it Wheel of Time and Space, that was one of the best compliments I felt like I got for my series. But yeah, it's all that stuff went into it, and then it was me just really, really wanting to write and basically spending 20 years on book 1 to get it done. But when I got it done, I published, and people seemed to enjoy it, so it kicked me in the butt, and I said I'm going to get the next one out, and same thing. They seemed to enjoy that one more, and I said, okay, I'm going to get the next one out. And now 2 years later, I've dropped 3 novels and a novella, and these things are pretty chunky. They're not little.
Yeah,
so
they're thick.
yeah, this is almost 600 pages. So so yeah, it's a little bit of burnout time over here, but at the same time, I feel like my writing's gotten nothing but better, especially putting so much focus on it, and I'm excited about it. So
heck yeah. So you spent 20 years when your first book, and now you've knocked 3 and a novella out too?
Well, yeah. So 20 years on book 1, and I knocked out 2 more in a novella in 2. Yeah, it was
wow.
Well, so the story basically is, I started this in my teens. It took me 5 to 6 years, something like that, to write the first draft. Then life hit me. I opened up my own business outside of writing in my early to mid 20s, and then took over with that. That took up a lot of my time. I got back to it, I want to say 3 or 4 years after I finished the draft. I did a heavy self-edit. I've never been part of any writing groups. I never took writing classes. So it was very much teaching myself kind of tutorials and stuff like that to do editing. I actually bought the cover then, which was probably close to like 10 years ago now for book 1. And I thought I was going to publish it back then, and just thank goodness I didn't. It needed a lot more work still. But, I thought I was going to publish it, but it ended up just sitting for a while longer. And I met my wife. We got married. I project manage new home construction sites for a living outside of writing. So I built our house and managed the construction of it. So that was like a 2-year thing that just consumed my entire being. Then we had kids and stuff like that, life stuff. And so that actually had me like not touching it for another 6 or 7 years, something like that. And when COVID first hit, I work in new home construction, and it blew up in my area. I'm about like a little over an hour from Manhattan, and just everyone flocked out of New York City to this area. And it really blew up the construction aspect of things. And I was doing, in 2022, I did 5 houses, and I had customers and I had clients that bought the houses right from the early stages. So I was dealing with them. They basically became custom builds, and I just went crazy and burnt myself out completely. And I hit a point where I was like, I'm taking a break from. I also saw where the market was going, the economy. It was very good for 2 years, and then it was ready to go like this. All of us saw it coming who work in the industry, and so I was like, well, I'm not going to go spend money on anything. It's a good time to kind of sit tight. And yeah, this just popped into my head. We also had a death that occurred very unexpectedly in our family. Someone that was young in 2021, and that was another thing. I remember when it occurred, I was kind of like, this has always been my dream. There's no guarantee tomorrow. I want to get it out there, So when I finally slowed down, I picked it back up. I read it. It had been so long since I read it that it almost felt like I was reading someone else's work.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. And, I'm biased. I wrote this thing to all of my favorite stuff. So, so of course it's going to be good to me, but it was great to me. So I was just like, I need to get this out there. I need to see if other people like this, or if I'm just some nerd who is the only one who likes it. And that was when I bunkered down. I hired an editor. I worked with an editor for the first time. I hired a bunch of beta readers because I wasn't on any of the socials. I had wasn't part of the book community at all. So, now I have a lot of connections, and there's people who are, now I have fans of the series who are looking forward to beta reading for me and stuff like that, but back then I didn't. So I was paying for all my beta readers, and granted, I'm glad I did, because to be honest, don't get me wrong, I use beta readers now for free, and they do a fantastic job. But the paid ones do a really, really good job. A lot of them take it seriously because you're paying for it. So, and I'm glad I did that with my first book, because I feel like I got really, really superior products back to help me better my book.
Is that what they do? Like the ones you pay for, like they give you like lots of like feedback on it and stuff?
Oh yeah. So the ones, I got lucky because I have heard horror stories of people who've paid, and I went on Fiverr, and that's where I found a bunch of them. I did a lot of research. They do reviews and stuff. People review the work these people do, and I made sure I went to ones that had like at least 100 reviews, something like that, and the price seemed reasonable, and all that stuff. And yeah, they did great. I mean, a lot of times when people do it for free, some of them still give a pretty detailed review, but some might only leave a couple comments. I very much like the comments that go along with like the live reads. That kind of gives you where that person's headspace is at. So they leave the comment in the manuscript themselves, and you kind of see where that person's mind was at that moment. With the paid ones, it was probably 500 comments in the whole thing, if not more. And
heck yeah.
Yeah, and getting a full detailed report at the end. So that's, it's all, and don't get me wrong, you take this stuff and some of it you agree with, some of it you don't, but you do it, you also do it with enough people, and you kind of just analyze it all, and you see, okay, if everyone's agreeing about this thing, maybe they're right, and blah, 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 all that. But yeah, I spent months doing all that, working with the editor, and I just cleaned it up, and I finally got it out there. And as I said earlier, when I got it out there, it actually had a really good reception. I started building my book socials. Instagram and Twitter were my main ones. I only started them 2 months before I published, and I still don't really know how. I just got really lucky to find some really cool bookstagrammers who took the book on. Part of my strategy was I went into it knowing I was going to send out books to a lot of people. I sent out to bookstagrammers, some booktubers, and others out there, just reviewers, bloggers, and I got lucky. I got really good feedback. Some of them started spreading the word, and I'd say it did pretty good, for a release, given where I was at the time and not really knowing what the hell I was doing. And just people really, really seemed to like it. I put it out there, and I had a strategy going into release. I made it free the second week it was out, and I ran ads on discount sites, basically that people sign up for the newsletter to know when certain books are free. And I ended up with almost 2,000 downloads, and that ended up getting me a pretty good amount of reviews and ratings right at the start, which is huge on Amazon.
Yeah. Like
And
50 is like the number, ain't it? I see that, or at least it seems like it. I know
everyone
a lot of people
says 50, and I was eyeing 50 for a long time. And then when I finally got to 50, it was like nothing changed.
Nothing changed. Okay.
I think it's a myth. I don't know. Everyone says it, and I believed it at one point.
Yeah.
I think it's a myth, though.
Okay.
But no. Then I was getting stuff. I was getting random people I don't know. They're emailing my contact form on my website, and they're just like, "Oh, I love the book. When's book 2 coming out?" I started running some ads, and people were commenting in the ads. "Oh, I blew through this. When's book 2 coming?" It's just stuff like that that really just kind of gave me that drive to, all right, I want to get this next out. And not to mention, I was still small. Really, I'm still small beans now, but I was like really, really small beans then.
Yeah.
And I've always read, and I've always known the best marketing is to get more material out there. And I'm going through this release coming up now, and I've had more eyes on my series now than ever, and it's because the release is upcoming. And I'm also, I'm pushing marketing much more than I usually do to go in accordance with that. But that's why I think it's almost why writing more is better, because there's nothing that's going to market your book better than an upcoming release. And so you just keep getting more out there. It's the best way to do it. And I got book 2 out there. People seem to love it more than the first one even. And I loved it more in the first one. I could tell my own growth going into it, and it just kept me in drive. And granted, things worked out this way because that dip I talked about in the housing market, it came to fruition, and it's still recovering 2 years later now around here, 2-3 years later. I'm back. I got a really big project coming up this summer, but I was a little stagnant on it for a little while, and that helped me do my writing as well. And to get these books out there. After book 2, I did the novella I got that out 2 months later, because that was when I was kind of starting to learn this marketing game and the socials game. And I saw how many other authors were giving away free novellas, and that's how they were building their newsletters and stuff like that. And so I did that. That helped. I actually had quite a few who, when I was pushing the novella and offering it up, ARCs, had quite a lot of people who took that on, read that, and then went right over to the series. So that was that worked pretty well, and I kept going. I didn't plan to keep going into book 3, but just when the construction end of things still wasn't picking up, I said, well, I do this now, or I might not do it for another 3 years. So I jumped right in. I got it done, and this is by far my best product yet. I love all my books. Again, I'm biased saying that, but it's one of those things. When I just did my final read through of this one, I wish so badly it could be the book that I had out there as book number 1 for it to be everyone's first taste, but that's also natural. It's later in a series. It's much easier, I think, to write a better book later in a series, because you've laid some of that groundwork that needs to be there for those really more impactful scenes. So
and you're getting better as a writer too. It's not 100%. To me, it doesn't matter how many books you put out. You're going to get better unless you just literally don't care.
Yeah.
No,
100%. I've worked with multiple editors now. I've worked with probably a dozen beta readers at this point. You're getting all this feedback. You're getting your reader feedback. You're getting your reviews. You take it all in. And like I said earlier, I don't agree with all of it sometimes, but it's like a big pool, and you just got to analyze it all, and you find the pieces that kind of fit and the pieces that kind of are said, multiple times, and you go from there.
Yeah. So that's especially I talked to E.H. Bradley last month, and me and him was talking about how his book, The Veil, comes out next month, in June. And I'd read The Ranger, and then I read The Veil, and his writing, he went from fantasy to horror, and excuse me, it's fantastic. And he was talking about how he wants to have out at least 10 books by the time he's 50, to where that will take him to kind of like what you're talking about. The more books you put out, and say someone grabs one, especially like a different series, and they're like, oh, this is good. Now it's going to send them back to everything else you've had,
Yeah.
So
that's what a lot of the popular authors, there's a lot of names that are popping up now, like JDL Rossell. He has
Yeah,
a lot
he's
of
got a
books out
bunch.
there, and
Yeah.
that's what's helped. I haven't read any of his work, but I'm sure he's a good writer, a great writer, and he's got all this work out there, and now you can run the ads, you can do all that, you can push your stuff, and it's just now one reader is 10 book sales worth. So it's
Yeah.
that's the hard. It's definitely a long game of being an indie author, and power to a lot of people that are. I know a few authors who they quit their job and they're going full force into this, and they're pumping those books out, and that's what you need to do, because that's really, it's going to be there's only going to be probably less than 1% who are Ryan Cahill that throw their first book out there and it just blows up like that.
Yeah, you can't see them. I've got all of his hardbacks right here, except for the brand new one. I hadn't bought it yet.
Yeah, no,
It's
I
good.
haven't read it, but I know I need to read it, and I'm sure I love it. I think I read the sample on Amazon, and I said, "Oh, I'll like this book for sure."
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's very rare that's going to happen. Listen, I'm
Mhm.
sure, obviously, Ryan Cahill has a absolutely fantastic series. I'm sure he's a phenomenal writer, but he still had a lot of luck for the ball, I think, to just hit
yeah.
right and for that to occur, because I know a lot of authors who are very, very good at writing, and they've seemed to have done everything well, but still that it didn't mesh together like that. And I think the more often take is you get more and more products out there, and eventually it makes more sense, when you have those 10 books, because ads ain't cheap either. I got fortunate doing Meta ads. I knew someone who worked at Meta when I first published, and they actually worked in the advertising and program. And so they were given by the company $250 credits each month to basically hand out to whoever, if they know anyone trying to run ads. And the whole point was, I get the credits, I run ads, and I give feedback. And so I was very fortunate in that, because otherwise I would have burned about probably $1,200, something like that, just losing money real bad, not figuring it out. But I kept running them. I kept analyzing them. I still, to this day, I follow daily. I'm following ads, and I got Excel spreadsheets on them and this and that. And I was fortunate enough to be able to learn them, because now I can run them. And I usually, with 2 books out, I'm usually pulling anywhere from like 1.5 to 2 times my ad spend any given day. So, which is nice, because it's about the only thing I'm making money on in this whole, and I've pumped out 4 books in 2 years. So I think I'm still in the red probably with all of it, just because that's a lot of covers and editing and all that, and costs and all that stuff. But, and granted, I'm doing lower spend. I'm not throwing $100 a day out on these things. But yeah, so I was able to learn that, and I got lucky to be able to do that. But like Amazon ads and stuff like that, I mean, so I was running one recently that was, I think I was putting like 50-cent bids out. Now, your average book, you're not making $5 a book that you sell. You're lucky, depending on what your price is, you're lucky to make $3. Most people probably aren't making that. It's most people are probably making 2 or less per book that they sell. So I was 50-cent bid, and I'm saying, well, I just need, one in every 5 people to buy this thing. And it wasn't getting any impressions. And that's because with Amazon, you have to bid to get those top ones. You have to bid, like, some people are bidding as high as $3. They're taking, and that's what it is. It's people who have 10 books out there. They're bidding $3, and they're saying, I'll lose money on book 1 because I'm going to make it back on these 9 other ones I got out there. And that's what makes the Amazon ads so tough to get into, because you can't even, it's not even like Meta where I can run them, test them, and analyze them. It's, if I'm not bidding just this high amount to start, I'm not even getting impressions, so I don't even have data to really analyze. And that's what makes the Amazon ads really, really tough to get into.
Okay. Let's see. Scott said, lots of work to get your book out there and noticed.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
For sure.
And then tight margins.
Yeah.
I would say that's crazy to think that just on average, say a paperback's typically $15-ish, and a hardcover's now between 20 and 30, depending on who you sell it by. And if you're not making but $2 or $3, Like that's rough.
Listen, my paperback is priced at $18. I think I make around 2 on it. Granted, I have a chunky book that doesn't help. It's
That's what you say, but your book's 500 plus pages though.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I know that. I'm sure that determines it too.
And I do it. My whole strategy going into publishing from day one was to make my prices as low as possible to try and get eyes on my reading. It's the only way us as authors are going to grow and eventually, hopefully, I always look at it as a long game. And so I want to get in as many people's eyes on it as I can. I try to price my stuff as low as I can. And fortunately, $18 is like, it's like, I mean, I could probably go a little bit lower, but then I'm making 50 cents each book I sell. So it's like,
excuse me. Do you think what do you think's a better strategy on that? Like say you price your book for $18 and you're going to get $2 or $3 out of it. Do you think it's easier to do that and sell them with a paperback, or you think it's easier to say book one? Like one of them, is it yours? That's 99 cents right now. Book one on Kindle.
Kindle, yes.
Okay, so it's 99 cents on Kindle. So that puts you at basically $1 is going to get you book one and the novella if they sign up for your newsletter.
Yeah.
So that puts them in the door. Do you think that helps to sell more stuff to where, like, if you read that on Kindle, you're like, oh, I like this book. I'm going to go out and start buying the series in paperbacks. Do you think there's any correlation in that, or is that just it's just $1?
I think, I don't know. That's tough. See, majority of my readers have come from my meta ads. So a lot of them are Kindle Unlimited readers. And so It's hard for me to go by because those readers I don't think are really, and don't get me wrong, I get paperback sales a decent enough amount of time. And I'm always wondering, like, who's buying that? Who's spending $20 when they could spend $4 and get the Kindle version? Not that they might not have a Kindle, obviously, but I think it all depends on the reader. My strategy is kind of going after Kindle Unlimited readers. That's how I divert my ads, kind of focused on them. It's all how you're going to go about it. If you're someone who's really trying to go viral on socials and build your platform that way, you're going to get a lot of people who, you're getting Bookstagrammers, you're getting TikTok people. They want the copies of the books right there. So it's really what strategy you think you're going to go. I mean, my strategy at the beginning, like I said, was I sent some paperbacks out to a lot of people when I first published, just because it's all about someone doing this somewhere. That's, that people are much more visual than their listeners. So seeing it is what's going to draw them to it much more than hearing someone talk about it. Granted, if it's one of the top booktubers, okay, yes, they only need to talk about it and people are going to listen. But if it's just kind of someone like me who's on X talking about it or something, they want to see that pretty cover more than they want to hear the person talk about it.
Yeah. You're talking about like say booktubers and stuff talking about things and like how they help with sales. So who is it? Matt's Book Reviews. I don't know if you know who he is or not.
Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews?
Matt's Fantasy, yes.
Yeah.
So he, ever so often, if he tells anybody to buy a book, a lot of times it'll instantly sell out on Amazon. So he had did a thing and was like, hey, this Michael R. Fletcher book, Beyond Redemption, he said this is probably the best grimdark book he's ever read in his life. Okay. This sucker sold out within 3 or 4 hours on Amazon.
Wow.
And was back order for like 3 months.
Wow.
After he said that.
Yeah, that's definitely the sway the top booktubers out there have. Yeah. And it's been a strategy of mine to try and get in with BookTube. I sent a lot of copies out to, booktubers back when I first, but I've also had some bad experiences with BookTube. It's been by far the biggest platform of people who have taken my work, agreed to, read it, review it, and not followed through with that. As well as, I've found copies of, I'll never forget, I had a Bookstagrammer once who he tagged me in a post and he was like, oh, I just got a signed copy of Bryan Wilson's book. He was all excited about it. And in my head, I'm going, well, I don't sell signed copies. So how the hell did you get a signed copy? And it was a book that I had sent out to a bookstagrammer, and it literally had the note that I wrote to the bookstagrammer still in it. So I know who that bookstagrammer was. And I was like, well, how'd you get this? And the booktuber, the note to the booktuber was still in it. And I asked the bookstagrammer, how'd you get this? And he was like, oh, I just bought it on some discount site. So that booktuber went and sold the book on a discount site. Now, maybe they did try and read it and they didn't like it and just didn't want to say anything. I don't know, but it's just left a little bit of a bad taste.
But still, look, I can say this because I've done this one time, and Scott can vouch for me, some other character, because I sent it to him. Dave Lawson's book, The Envoys of War. He sent me an art copy. He's the first one I ever interviewed. I read it. Excuse me. And so I bought the hardcover when it came in, and I had him personalize it for me. You know, I was he was my first interview and all that. And I sent the book to Scott, and then Scott read it and reviewed it. I will never, and I don't understand why anyone would, if someone sends you something, do not sell the book. Give it away if you want to. I'm cool with that.
Well, that's been my mindset, 100%.
It's like, what are you
listen,
doing?
I know the majority of BookTube is great, and what you were saying before, BookTube is probably the greatest friend to indie authors. They have the greatest means of getting an indie author's book out there without having to cater to some sort of algorithm. You know, these top booktubers. But not really but just it's hard to get into as well. I feel like I'm fighting another algorithm with the BookTube world of just like trying to, hey, look at this thing, and it's tough. But I know it's a great community. I've also had very good relationships. I don't want, if any booktubers I've become friends with, there are many who took on my book, gave it great reviews. So I love them. Absolutely. I've never had some of the negative aspects with any other platform, which I'm on TikTok, I'm on Bookstagram, I'm on all of them, that I've had with BookTube, I'd say.
He said he forged Dave's autograph and sold it on eBay for $100.
Well, it was a joke between, when this all went down with mine, it was a joke between me and a bunch of my other author friends, and they were just like, oh, you probably sold it for $1 million, that guy, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that'd make me mad. I ain't gonna lie, because you're spending the money to send it to them,
Well, there was so much more into it, and there's so much more that goes into this story, because this particular person actually another booktuber read my work. I don't think they were reviewing it. I think they were just giving the description and showing the cover. It was a booktuber I had sent it to. And this booktuber commented in their comments, that sounds awesome. I would love one. I would love to read this. And that was me then reaching out and being like, I'm happy to send one. And then it unfolded that way. And it's not just, it's what you said. I have to pay to have the book shipped to me. Then I have to pay to ship it out to them. And then on top of that, they now didn't follow through with what they said they were going to do, but they also took a sale away from me by selling it themselves somewhere else, when this person otherwise would have probably came and bought it from me. So it's, a lot of double-edged sword there, but it's part of this whole game. It's part of, us indie authors got to kind of just, what am I going to do? I'm not going to go out and I guess I could have tried to start like a Twitter scene, and sometimes that stuff does go viral and it gets you somewhere and people feel bad for you, but it's not who I am. That's not how I'm trying to get my book out there. So it's just, if I ever talk to the person and it got brought up, I'll let them know my feelings, but I'm not one that's going to just reach out just to say F you,
Yeah. It reminds me, did you see what went on this past week? We won't talk anything about it, but how the one author was upset over a 3-star review. I saw it. Yeah, and then wrote a 5-star review for their own book. So, that's not good. Listen,
it was all awful. I think all the parties were in the wrong. It was ugly, and it just kept getting uglier. That author should have never did what they did. It was ridiculous. I think I made a post about it. 3-star review is like the least of our concerns as indie authors. Like what are you complaining about?
3 stars still a good review. Last I checked, it's not the best and it's not the worst. It's a good book.
Yeah, But then it turned the flip side though, because then the person started getting review bombed, and I literally saw reviewers like praising that, and I was just like, come on, don't. There's no good. Two wrongs don't make a right. This person should never did it. They were wrong. There was nothing they did was okay. But now being like, oh yeah, they deserve to be review bombed. We put in years of our time to try and throw these books out here, and you can literally 10 of you come together and give it a 1-star. It's going to crush any, because these rankings are all pushed by algorithms, even Goodreads. Amazon owns Goodreads, so you can literally just crush its chance of having any sort of exposure anywhere like that. We shouldn't be doing that either. So it was just wrong on all ends. I hated everything I saw about it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Because you're right. If you got anybody that's big enough on BookTube, Instagram, any of that stuff, and they see that and they post something about that, like that can ruin an author real quick.
And some did, and some weren't necessarily saying go review. They were mocking like what the author did, which is fine. The author deserved it. I mean, they had no right to do. Shouldn't say no right, but they were foolish to do what they did anyway. And I saw some of the bigger booktubers and stuff, and that's probably what these people who have massive followings. That's what's then going to lead to 20 people coming together and 1-starring person stuff.
That's right.
You got to be careful with what you do out there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's very easy to piss people off on, especially on Twitter nowadays.
Oh, golly, yeah. I try to. That's the thing. I try my best not to post anything besides book stuff. Like that's all I do, and whether I like or dislike a book, because some of that stuff, I've only had like 2. I don't want to say mean comments, but people not agreeing with me on anything I've ever, not necessarily posted, but like I made a YouTube video ranking the whole entire Cosmere. I read it all last year, it's like 20 something books. And one person commented on it that he didn't like where I had like 2 books ranked. He's like, you didn't rank these in the right order. They should have been different. And then you also left out another book. I was like, okay, thanks.
You gotta just, that's like me as an author getting bad reviews. When I first got them, it was like, it made my head want to explode, because I'm fighting to not respond to them, and I'm thinking, man, maybe I do suck as a writer. A whole wide range of emotions, and now I just know to just, because I have some reviews that are just like, oh, I really wanted to like this book, but it sucks. It's like, oh, thanks, like you're giving me, I'm going to become a better writer with that one. Other ones that are like, oh, I got to the final 20% and I was bored, so I just didn't finish, something like that. Just like, just granted, obviously these are majority are good reviews on my books. These are the oddballs out, but I
don't understand
to the point where I'm comfortable just being like, no, this person is not someone to be taken seriously, and just move on.
If I'm DNFing a book, I'm doing it in the first 50%. There's no way I'm reading
100%. And this was my second. This was the second book of my series. That person who said that. I was like, you got through all of book 1 and you got through like 70% of book 2, and then you just were like, you were bored. Like, how? Doesn't make any sense.
That don't make sense.
And listen, I have no problem with people who, if you don't like the story, you don't like the story. That's great, but you can talk eloquently about why you don't like the story. You know what I mean? Not just kind of be a jerk about it, but
been funnier if she'd have gave herself 3 stars. You're probably right. It would have been good.
But I know what you mean, man, because even running the meta ads, like I get sometimes comments are just like, oh, it looks like a cheap Star Wars knockoff, and just stuff like that all the time. And it's like, why? Why are these people out there who need to say these things? But
I think it literally is just to stir up controversy. Like, people love to just throw gasoline on fires and start stuff.
Well, especially nowadays, you have the combination of everyone thinks they know everything, and you have a lot of insecure people out there. So it's that combination. Just if you think you're know-it-all and you're both insecure, now you need to force feed yourself to try and prove to yourself that you are an actual know-it-all. And I think that's what we get a lot of, especially on social media nowadays.
Oh, yes. All right. So let's steer it back a little. What would you say? Because who do you think is your favorite character in your book?
I get asked this a lot. It's always a tough question. I God, I have a little bit of love for each of my characters. I feel like I did a pretty good job of diversifying their personalities. So, probably my favorite character is my main character. He's the one who, when I write it, I always look at this person as myself, I guess I would say. He's got a good heart, wants to do right, has a little bit of a rage issue at times, and doesn't always do right, doesn't always make the smart decisions. So that would probably, he's just the most in the story goes into this character. So that would probably be my favorite character. But I love some of my other ones too. I got one who's just kind of a care about nothing, just go with the flow, almost like a Matt Cawthon in a way. And I don't know if you've read Wheel of Time. And I just love some of the scenes with him. He's probably got more of my funny scenes. The dynamic between him and one of the other guys seems to be definitely a fan favorite of these two. I've probably had 10 different people tell me, oh, you need to write, when you're done with the series, you need to write a book about those two and their own arc if they both survive it. And but yeah, then I almost got like the Samwise character. I feel like he's the Samwise to my main character's Frodo. He's got a real soft spot for me. And then in the second book, there was introduced an animal companion friend who he's by far the fan favorite. I got someone who actually just finished my second book tonight over on Bookstagram, and they DM me and they were like, if anything happens to this character, I will find you. I will do something bad. And I'm just like, you're probably the 12th person to say that to me at this point. So, but I've always been an animal companion fan in stories. And so I definitely love the way that character goes too. So if I had to pick one, it'd be the main character, but there's a whole cast of them that I really enjoy.
Okay. Do you have you've got 3 books out now. Do you have, or will be, do you have a favorite line in any of your books? Like anything you wrote that was just like, this is absolutely incredible. I feel like a genius.
That's definitely happened before. I'm trying to think, but it's not really coming to my brain right now. It's happened a few times with some of the stuff. I don't remember the line exactly, but I know one line I really enjoy in book 1. Book 1 has a heavy theme of kind of like bigotry and judging people without fully knowing them and stuff like that. And I can't remember exactly how the line goes, but it's to the extent of, it's one of kind of the mentor characters talking to the main character. And he just says, what does he say? He says, I want to remember this line. I don't want to botch it, but he's basically like, cause he's a warlord. He's a major in their faction of where they're training. And he basically says, we can't help who, if we like the person that we're, the people under us or the soldiers that train us. I'm already botching this, but we can't like them. We can't know what made them. We can't know their history and what made them become the person they are. If they can do better under different circumstances, we can only help give them that chance. Something like that. I've botched it horribly, but in the book, I feel like in the moment of the book, it's really impactful, and I've gotten comments about it, so I know other people like it.
It's like an epic speech.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I should know these things off the top of my head, but
you wrote a bunch of words.
For 2 years, it's all meshed together now. But there's quite a few of those where, like, when I read them in my read-throughs, I'm like, did I really write this? Am I sure I didn't like Google something that day and that's how I came up with it? Because I don't feel like I could write something like this, but I wrote them. I've never used AI or anything like that. So it came from somewhere. It was just a good day, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So book 3 comes out next week. Mm-hmm. Do you have any plans on audiobooks for any of your stuff?
I do. It's another question I'm asked constantly. I'm especially running the meta ads. That is probably half of the comments I get on those ads are, I drive an 18-wheeler. I only listen on audio, or I'm this old. I only listen on audio. Oh, you drive an 18-wheeler?
I do. I drive up to Elkton, Maryland every day, or there, and then drive back the next day. Yeah, I'm 1 mile from Delaware.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Good job. Yeah. But that's the comment I'm constantly getting, something to that extent. And I know my ads would do absolutely mind-blowingly better if I had an audio, but it's just my focus has been writing and getting more books out there. I'm also not, I've listened to audio for the first time this past year. I listened to about 4 books, but I never listened to it before. So like, I don't know anything of what I'm doing or what I should even expect with audiobooks. I kind of got to do some research into that. So for me to have them made into audio would just be kind of a big, I'd almost feel like I'd have to put writing aside for a year to kind of focus on these, make sure I find the right person. And I also have three books out, 4 if you include the novella. So it's like, that's a whole lot of work to just listen to it, and also a whole lot of money to pay, because audiobook narration is probably one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive aspect to publishing.
Yeah.
At least for how I do things. So I want to. It's definitely a goal of mine. You know, I'm kind of in a spot right now where I'm like, I know I'm going to be going crazy construction wise. I might not have as much time to write. Do I just kind of put the writing to the side and focus on having these audiobooks finally done, or I got to make that decision? But it's going to be done at one point. It's just, I'm 3 books in now. I only plan to write 2 more for the series. Do I just get the series done and then do it all in audio and get a nice package deal, you know? Or
that wouldn't be a bad idea. Yeah, because then at least that way you could get the same narrator to do the whole thing.
Well, that's exactly it. That's kind of the idea I have in my head. You know, it's the same. That's with audiobooks. And then also I had hardcovers of my books when I very first published. I didn't like how it came out, so I pulled it, and I haven't done it since, because my plan is to hopefully have a big enough audience one day where I can run either a really cool Kickstarter, or who knows, maybe one of these publishers will pick me up and I can do, you know, something like Broken Binding, and I can do a really cool, just, you know, special edition hardcover just with them, you know, something like that. And, you know, and I could do it for all my books. And I feel like I'm kind of waiting to hopefully do something big with hardcovers down the road, but getting ahead of myself, I got to kind of build readers first. So,
well, I mean, you know, that's at least a plan. You have something in mind to go forward, because if you do, you get big enough. And then whenever you start releasing these special editions, I mean, right there, I've got the first 3 Malazan books. I mean, those things are beautiful looking.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, I've gotten a pretty good following with the Bookstagram community. I built some good roots there, and those people over there, especially, they love their special editions. They love their hardcovers. So it's, you know, try and keep growing that audience. And I know that'll be good, very good marketing approach.
That's what I got to do over there more, is post. I know, like Mike's book reviews and stuff, he does all of his like Broken Binding unboxings just on Instagram. Like, that's it.
Okay.
So you can see the normal books, like he'll show them in like his book hauls or whatever, but he does his unwrapping and unboxing and all that only on that. And I finally made it to tier 2 of the fantasy and sci-fi both. So my first book actually just got the email today. I think it's book 1 of the Rift War saga. I think it's The Magician. I think that's right. It's on its way. So,
nice.
So yeah, I may start doing that, put it on there to try to get. I haven't done much.
Good idea. Bookstagram loves Broken Binding, and it loves those special editions. So that'll push you in the algorithm over there. Absolutely.
Maybe I need to do that. I've got to learn more on Instagram. It's confusing to me on some of that stuff.
Listen, I'm not a pro at the algorithm. Take my words with a grain of salt. I just know, like, the Bookstagram community itself, I'm constantly seeing videos like that. And it's like, anytime any of the Bookstagrammers I follow post something about the Broken Binding or like an unboxing like that, it seems like it's getting huge content. So
yeah. Shoot, you've got like 1,900 followers over there, don't you?
I do.
You got a pretty good following going on.
Yeah, no, sure. That's like my first year of marketing and being on socials. That's where I put Instagram is the only social media I used. I never used Twitter, not once, before I got into publishing. And I used Facebook way back when I was in college, but then I didn't touch it for like 10 years. So but Instagram was what I knew best, just because I didn't use it heavily beforehand, but it's what I'd use. So it's where I kind of put my focus, and I just enjoyed it too. I enjoyed kind of how the content works over there. You know, people actually show the books and, you know, all that good stuff.
So. I like how, like, is it? Yeah. Andy Peliquin. how he
He's
does a
good.
lot of his stuff is like
Yeah.
top tens and stuff, where he's like, if you want something like this, and then does the flipping, and I think that's really cool.
No, he does a great job. And yeah,
Yeah.
the editing on his videos is fantastic. I tried doing something
Yeah.
like that once and I spent like 45 minutes and it just looked terrible. And I said, I'm not doing this. I can't.
Yes.
I'm not good at video creation. I'm trying to get better because TikTok is where I really want to grow. I said I would never do TikTok, and I just know way too many authors that just blow up over there and it's if you learn its algorithm almost seems like one of the easier algorithms to kind of learn.
I feel too old for TikTok's my
Uh,
problem.
Believe me, I'm 39 years old. I feel the same way. I feel like what's
I'm
the
40.
GIF where he's like, "Hello, fellow kids."
Yes, that's right.
That's me over on TikTok. I feel like it, but at the same time, I also see people who look like they're 50 over there, and they seem to be doing well. So it's
I don't do any dances and I don't do skits, so that's the problem.
I don't do the dances either. And granted, I'm not getting very far over there, but I want to because I know a lot of people who sell a lot of books from TikTok.
Well, whenever you got your own
your book
section
that goes viral on TikTok.
Yes.
I've known some people who do that, and they literally hit bestseller status in Amazon. It's just as good as if not better, as a top booktuber, talking about your book.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you look at Barnes and Noble has their own TikTok section.
Yeah.
When you walk in the door, it's like one of the first things you see is
even Amazon now has best of TikTok. That's a new banner they have over certain books. It's you can't deny the book. It's what I forget. I heard this number once. It's like the biggest social media. I think it's what is it in the US? Is it Facebook? Is it Twitter? I don't know. Whatever it is, it was like 500,000 people or something like that. Or no, not 500,000. 500 million or something like that. TikTok's 2 billion people on TikTok, so it's not even close. It's again, I don't want to be. I never wanted to be on there, and I'm not really doing well on there, so I don't even know what I'm still doing on there. But it's just the hope that I might actually trying to sell books some way somehow.
There we go. We go back to MySpace. We'll bring it back.
The world was much simpler back then.
It sure was. You could post your top 10. You could have your music play whenever someone goes on your page.
Yeah,
man, it was so much better.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, so I guess we can have a little fun now since we're an hour in. So, what is your favorite food?
Oh, so I just did another one like a week ago, and they asked me this too, and I'll give you the same answer. I wouldn't say I am very much like a mood person, so I wouldn't say I have a favorite food because I have a lot of foods I really, really enjoy, and it depends on my mood. But like, if I want a burger, my favorite burger, Five Guys burger.
I love Five Guys.
I could. Yeah. If it wouldn't kill my cholesterol, I'd be eating that. And if it wasn't as expensive as it is, I'd be eating that multiple times a week. But I like a good pizza. I live 20 minutes away from New Haven, Connecticut, which I don't know if anyone's heard. If they follow like the pizza review guy on Barstool, he always
Dave Portnoy. Yes, yeah. I watch it all the time.
He calls New Haven right where Yale is, the pizza capital of the world, and it's for good reason. The pizza there is just absolutely phenomenal. So if I'm in the mood for a pizza, something like that, or there's a lot of places like it around here, I'll get something like that. It's all mood stuff. I grew up with a Japanese stepfather, and we used to always go to hibachi, and like the Italian families used to all go and just sit at the Italian restaurants all night long, and the owner would come bring them drinks and stuff. That was us at the hibachi restaurant. So I've just have this deep love for hibachi. I used to sit around when I was 21, all my family, and we're taking sake shots and stuff like that. So it's all about my mood. That's where that's definitely how it rolls for me.
We love hibachi.
It's funny. I got 2 young daughters, and we took them like 2 years ago. I want to say it was like the first time we took them, and they just weren't that into it. They didn't eat the food, and they were kind of nervous. And one of my daughters wanted to go just recently, and I was like, yes. And we went. We had a blast. We had such a good time. It was so much fun. They were loving it. They were laughing. They were actually
do the show
where they spray the lemonade for the kids. Yeah. My daughter was actually doing it. I didn't think she'd ever do it. So just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Scott says the tomahawk steak's his favorite. Good choice. Good choice.
Yep.
All right. So thinking food, what about a restaurant? Do you have a favorite restaurant you like to go to?
Trying to think. My wife and I, ever since I became a writer, we don't do a lot of
Yeah.
dates.
That's the same with us. So we
Yeah.
got kids. It's like, well, we don't get to go anywhere by ourselves much anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm.
I wouldn't say a favorite restaurant. If anything, I would say maybe like a favorite. I would almost say Five Guys. That is one of
Yeah.
my top places. I love when I do get there and I just gorge. I get, the normal burger, which is a double cheeseburger and a fry. And I usually get a bacon dog, and I just go to
Oh,
house
yes.
when I'm there. So I would say maybe that place is what I'll say.
Yeah.
There's nice restaurants in my local area that me and my wife do go to every now and then, but we don't go there enough, so I can't name them as my favorite.
We like we might go once, excuse me, maybe twice a year, probably more like once. But like Brazilian steakhouses. You ever been
Okay.
to those where it's like unlimited meat, like
I haven't been
steaks?
one where there's unlimited meat, but we have
Okay.
a I don't know, it's some sort of South American, and they make really good. They have like really good steak dishes there.
Okay. Well, like say around here, well, I live in East Tennessee now. When I lived in West Tennessee, they had a place called Texas de Brazil. And then up here is, oh, what's it called? I don't know. It's a Brazilian steakhouse. So you'll go in, you'll sit down, and they'll bring you like these caramelized bananas, a little tray of mashed potatoes, and some what's the stuff? Is it poon poon something? The stuff that looks like bananas, but it's not a banana. It starts with a P. I cannot think of the name of it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyways, that. And so you get this card, and one side's red, one side's green. You put it on green, and they will literally constantly bring you meats, either be steaks, lamb, pork, chicken, all different ways, and all that. And it never stops until you flip it over and to red, and you just eat till you can't eat no more.
That sounds like heaven.
That's it. Plantain.
Plantain.
There
Yeah,
it is.
there it is.
That's close.
Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, that sounds. I've actually never been to a place like that, and
Yeah.
I think actually I might have went. I think I might have been on a cruise once, and we went to
Okay.
like one of the nicer restaurants on the boat, and I do think they did that there, and
Yeah.
sounds like it's like heaven basically to
Yeah.
me.
It's like $50 or $60 a person. So I mean it's expensive, but I
Yeah.
mean it's
Well, you go once in a
incredible.
blue moon, and you make your money
Exactly.
worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. No kids.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
too much. They don't eat
No,
enough money to pay for it.
no, not a chance.
All right. So I'm going to guess this is a yes, but are you or were you a gamer? Because I see the Simpsons over there in the arcade.
So I was absolutely a gamer. With that said, I've never been like that much a fan of what do they call it now? The online play, I guess you could say. The only
Like multiplayer?
Yeah, so I love me and my buddies used to play Halo 1 where you had the
Oh, yeah.
split screen with the little
Yep.
link in different
Mhm.
rooms. We used to do that. That's some of the best memories of my life. I absolutely love that. Then Gears of War 1, that game, I was really, really good online, like really good online, and I played it all the time, way too much. But then I never really, I don't know. Then I remember Halo 2 came out and it had the online play, and I didn't really enjoy it. And even Call of Duties, I don't know. I never got that in. I've always been a story player. I
Okay.
enjoy the campaigns of games I play. And so that's always been my big thing. Like I haven't played a game in a while. Last game I played was The Last of Us 2, and it was like right when it came out, which I think was like 5
Okay.
years ago now.
Yeah.
But that's one of the best stories. I feel The Last of Us games have some of the greatest storylines ever.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, why I like them so much. The old Call of Duties, I used to love them for their storylines because their storylines were
Oh, yeah. 8 hours and you're done with it too.
Yeah, yep. Nice
Yeah.
and quick. But yeah, no, I have the Simpsons one behind me because we used to have a place called The Rec when I was younger, when I was probably like, I don't know, 8 years old, something like that. And my parents are divorced, so I'd always go on the weekends my dad, but he worked nights, so he'd be sleeping all day, and he'd have his cousins on his side would pick me up, and they'd bring me wherever I wanted to go. I was really got spoiled by them, but would always want to go to the rec, and it was just this big hall, which was just filled with video games, like this old Simpsons one here.
Yeah.
And God, I probably put $1,000 in quarters of their money in my childhood into that game, beating it a few times. And so I remember I saw it. I know I got it a few years ago. It was like $200 something on some site, and it's the game. It's the same exact one that was in there. And now
is that like an arcade 1-up machine? Is that what that is, or sort of? Like it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically like an arcade game. It's like the ones where you used to put the quarters in when you go way back in the day. But this one, you just press the start button and you can get as many lives as you want. And now me and my daughters, my nieces come over, we play it, and we have a ton of fun with it. So it was money well spent. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Because if it was like the old days, we would have spent a lot more.
Oh, no doubt. That $250 is probably the best investment you ever made on it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. So you like any sports? You're a sports guy though?
I am a big time sports guy. Football would be my by far my favorite sport. Unfortunately, I'm a New York Giants fan, so it hasn't been very fun in the last.
Well, you got Jackson Dart now.
Yeah, there's hope. It's probably,
you have a chance. Yeah.
There's a slight little bit of hope for the first time in quite a while. So, but yeah, no, it's football and hockey for me. I've always been really hard. My wife and I first met. Our thing was to go down to Madison Square Garden in the city and go watch the Rangers play. And to me, there will never be any greater live sporting event than a hockey game. It's just
that's what everybody says. See, we have the Nashville Predators close to us.
Okay.
And I've never been, but everyone says, like, if you'll just go to a game,
you got to go.
Like, it's so much easier to keep up with, and you see crazy fights.
Yep. There's by far no better. I have just a blast every time I go. We haven't gone in forever because kids, but it's a really good time. We used to go all the time because for me it was like an hour and 10-minute train ride, hour and 20-minute train ride. I hop on the train right in town and takes us right into Grand Central, and then it was, I don't know, I forget, it's a short walk. It's 15-minute walk to Madison Square Garden from there. So we used to always make a little date out of it, a little journey out of it, and God, we had so many great experiences. It's just, I love it so much. And then even when I was single, me and my buddies going down to the playoff games, forget about it. You go to like a game 7 in the Garden, it's
oh gosh,
you'll never experience something like that anywhere but there. So it's
okay. So speaking of game 7 at the Garden, what about the Knicks this year?
So I'm not that into basketball, but I am following because it's the Knicks, and I'm just a New York sports fan. I'm hoping they can pull it out. Are they playing tonight? I think they're playing tonight, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I hadn't even looked it up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But anyway, I hope they win because I'm a New York sports fan. A lot of my buddies are big time Knicks fans, and they haven't really gone anywhere in the last long time. Yeah. But I'm not a big basketball fan that much though, so I don't really follow it. I used to be a big time. My biggest sport when I was younger was the Yankees. I was just reading what that says.
Because he said, I love your American sports and all the kicking and throwing. Scott lives in Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Go Sports.
So Scott would be the guy in the NFL stadium that's wearing the NFL hat, right? That's
exactly.
Go Teams. Exactly. I just want everyone to have fun.
That's right. Go Teams.
Yep. But yeah, no, it's definitely football. Football is my favorite by far. I mean, football Sunday that's the only time I still demand of my wife. I want. You got to watch the kids. I'm getting to watch the Giant game this week.
Yeah. For me, it's football Saturdays. I'm more of a college guy, but I live 35 minutes from the University of Tennessee. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. And then when I lived in West Tennessee, I was, 2 hours from the Titans in Nashville. So which now we're 3 hours from the Titans. And which, they're building that massive brand new football stadium there. It's going to be a dome and it's going to have the retractable roof. So I'm guessing within the next 5 years, they'll host a Super Bowl there. Because,
probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I drove by I went to a bachelor party in Nashville once, and we drove by the stadium and saw the stadium there. It was really nice.
What's up, Jacob? Stopping in. We'll watch this tomorrow and super excited for it.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Well, good. It's been an incredible interview. You do not want to miss it. Watch every second of it. Do not miss nothing. But yeah, so okay, with the you being a huge Giants fan, I'm assuming you absolutely loved that the Jets have actually been trash whenever they got Rodgers.
Pretty, 5 years ago, I think I would have been more excited about that, but they've just been so bad for so long. Like, and I know some Jet fans. I'm actually hitting a point where I feel sorry for them, and I think it probably has a lot to do with that. I kind of feel like the Giants are like the new Jets now. So it's the Jets are still the Jets, but the Giants are right there with them now. So it's like, wow, all this time I used to make fun of them. Maybe this is my karma of now with the Giants of doing that, because it's not fun.
Well, okay. How bad does it feel for you that Saquon has the greatest rushing season ever and wins a Super Bowl?
We don't talk about. Well, listen, to be fair, there's a lot of people who still say, "Oh, we should have kept Saquon." If we kept Saquon, we still would have been a terrible football team last year. He wouldn't have done I'm happy for him that he got to go somewhere and do what he did. He wouldn't have done that if he was on the Giants. Our offensive line's terrible. We had no quarterback. It just wasn't going to. It didn't change anything for us. All right, maybe we would have won one. We actually had, we drafted that rookie and he was actually pretty good. So we actually had a pretty good rushing team last year. It just
there's no point in wasting the money on somebody that is not going to be able to do what they could do because the people in front of him can't protect him.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
No. He was not going to. I love Saquon. He was nothing but a professional. He wasn't going to lift the Giants to the next level. They had a lot of holes. They had a lot of other things they had to build. And honestly, they saved money and were able to get, I remember another offensive lineman, were able to get a couple more guys. I still think it was the right decision. I mean, I don't like Shane. I don't like Dable. Shane's the GM, Dable's the coach. But I still think that was actually the right call. I know it looks terrible in retrospect now after everything that's happened, Saquon breaking the record and going and winning the Super Bowl, but he wasn't going to help the Giants. He just wasn't. He was on the Giants all the years before, and it wasn't
exactly
doing anything. So, I'm happy he got to go somewhere and do, because he was nothing but a class act in New York. So I'm happy. I hate that it's the Eagles. I despise that it's the Eagles. I wish I could erase it, pour acid in my brain and erase it.
I'm sure.
But I'm happy for him as a human being that he got to go do that.
Yeah. I went back and watched a little of yours and Chris's interview from a couple weeks ago, Triple B.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And y'all were talking about doing this fantasy football thing, possibly.
Okay.
I want to be in on that if y'all do it.
Okay. So, I told him, I said, listen, he's got to remind me because I'm going to forget. But if he reminds me, I'm absolutely in to do it. So
yeah. He'll do it. He's still got to put up our interview. We did one of his, what's it called? Beast Friends, which me and him did a live on his channel a few months ago. But me, him, Molly McCobb, and Tim Wolf all did in February. We did the A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Okay.
And we recorded it every week. Like me and Molly did the audiobooks, and the Chris and Tim read it, and he hasn't put it up yet for one, but it's supposed to be out hopefully soon. But okay. Have you ever read A Court of Thorns and Roses?
I've not. No, I've never read a romantasy in my life.
It's our
that is romantasy, right?
It is. It's something else. We'll say that.
I've heard. I mean, I've heard the same Fourth Wing, all that stuff. I've heard. I know that's a little more, not necessarily the romantasy vibe. But
okay. Speaking of Fourth Wing, do you follow, or is Rebecca Yaros on any of your stuff? Does she have a X account?
I don't follow her, but I know she's got a bunch of fake X accounts because they follow me. And
okay. Maybe that's what followed me. And we interacted a little bit a couple of weeks ago, or no, last week. And since you know about all this stuff,
we get people like this all the time, us indie authors that are trying to pretend they're this person or that. And you always know, it always starts the same. It's like, hey, I'd love to catch up and chat your experience with books, blah, 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 this and that. And I honestly ignore most of the messages. It's bad because like I'm probably going to miss some from fans, but it's majority of my messages are just bots doing stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Because like she wrote me after that, like she's got like 4,000 followers on it. And I got to thinking about
but
it
the
later.
real Rebecca Yaros has to have more than that.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, wait a minute. She sold like 15 million copies of her books, like legit. Just the 3 that she's got out of Fourth Wing and all that. And I was like, this is weird. But she wrote me, so I wrote her back, and we talked back and forth for a minute, and words were getting misspelled. So I was like, okay. So I wrote her. I was like, I'm going to shoot my shot here. Would you be interested in coming on for an interview? To my channel. And she wrote me back or whoever it is wrote me back and was like, I would love to, but I can't because of financial reasons or something like that. Basically like she's not allowed to do that without having to charge money. And I was like, okay. And she's like, but I'd like to help you out. Do you know how much would you be willing to pay? And I'm like, I can't afford you. I don't make any money or whatever. And then she wrote me back. And they were like, she's like, I really would like to help you out. Just anything would be fine. And I'm like, okay, this is definitely not it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, which I'm sure as big as she is, she's probably got like a handler, or an agent that deals with interviews and all that. Yeah. So I was like, this has got to be fake.
No, 100%. It's just, I don't know if it's a person, I don't know if it's a bot, but they just make the account. They probably spend a couple weeks to a month doing follow for follow things like that. You know what I mean? And that's how it makes it look like they have a bunch of followers. And but no, well, the real Rebecca Yaros she probably has 100K followers.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, because I talked to my wife about it. I'm like, she's only got 4,000 and she sold 12 to 15 million books. I just don't see that being possible. So I'm guessing she probably don't have an X account or it's private, one or the other. Because I typed her in, I just typed in Rebecca Yaros just to see what all would pop up.
Yeah.
And there's like 3 of them that look the same.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
No, they do a good job of making it seem because they'll put links and stuff that.
Yeah. Like and they put like interviews of her too.
Yeah.
Like where she, and like will post random posts and stuff.
No, they do a good job, but Rebecca Yaros ain't messaging any of us. So
that's exactly. That's why.
The tough ones are when they're authors that are kind of like middling, like they sell a lot of books, but they're not very popular. Those are the ones where it's like, but they're all bots. I never, I feel bad. Like I said, I probably have someone who was like, oh, I love your book. It's great. Like that was a real reader of it. And I just ignored them. But just all of on Twitter, I get them a lot. On TikTok's the worst. You get like, anytime I go on there, I have 20 of them at any given time. Get a good amount of them on Instagram. It's everywhere. It's just, it's terrible.
Yeah. I've had several. I've probably had 8 to 10 since I've been probably the last 2 months that I've had people write me on X. Like they'll follow me. So I'll read on their thing and it'll be like so-and-so, author of whatever book or whatever. So I'll follow back. If you're an author and you follow me, I'll follow you back. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then they'll randomly write a post and they'll be like, they'll DM me and be like, just wanting to check in, see how your writing's doing and all that. And I'm like, I don't write. And you should know that for one. I have nothing on my stuff that says I'm a writer or anything. So I don't know if they're fake or they just like
they're bots. I still don't really understand what a bot even is, but they got to be bots. Whatever a bot is, that's what they are.
Yeah. Yeah. So I go in and I look and I was like, okay, let's see if you actually make legit posts and stuff, or whatever. So I've had random people follow me that are just people.
The new thing I'm seeing on Twitter is I actually just had one today. Someone quotes a post of yours and is like, I love this series.
Yes.
Today was
that happened to you.
Yeah.
That she was writing to me or whatever. How are you?
Yeah. And then I went on, I'm like, who is this? I'm thinking maybe it's a reader. I go on the page and her entire page is just her doing that exact same thing to authors up in her whole, it's just 20 authors on the page. I'm like, people are not going to pick up on this.
I actually wrote her back on it. I was like, You should come check out the live. It's going to be great. It's in it. So never cut nothing back. So,
Yeah.
Excuse me. All right. So if you were not an author or construction guy, what would be your dream job?
That is tough because author has kind of always been I love what I do in construction. Don't get me wrong. That's why I got into it. I've built a pretty good business for myself, but author was always kind of the dream from childhood. So I don't know really if there would be any other, maybe like traveler. I don't know. I have always liked to travel. So if one of those people who gets paid to like travel to different locations around the world, that would be kind of cool. Yeah.
Mine would be probably a sports analyst.
Okay.
Whenever I was younger,
that's actually a good one. I would actually consider that one too for myself.
Yeah, I love sports.
Or coaching.
Yeah. Oh, and I could never coach. I coached my son.
I couldn't coach either. I wouldn't know what I'm doing, but like it'd be really cool to be like a head football coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I coached my son's soccer team when he was, I think it was the first season or second season that he ever played. He was like 5 or 6, and it's just chaos the whole time. And I was like, I can't do this. It's like I did it for that one season. Like, no, I'm a sit on the sidelines. Like I used to play sports. I played basketball. That was my sport. And you know, I don't like confrontation or nothing like that. And then people like, I was always embarrassed when my mom or dad or grandma was yelling at me, you know, and so I stay quiet on the sidelines. Even when my daughter, she played soccer, I can't do it.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, it's tough. I mean, you gotta know what you're doing. And you gotta have that little something to it, you know?
Yeah.
I'd be terrible. I wouldn't know what the hell I'm doing, but I've always like thought it'd be like really cool if I could just be a head coach and or GM of a football team.
Getting her just make picks and who you think's awesome and like getting the numbers down and all that.
Yeah. Yep.
What's going on, Mark? The Book Lounge. Doing pretty good.
We're doing.
That's right. So, okay, who is your favorite author? Or authors if you have more than one, like your all time?
Modern day, probably Pierce Brown. I mean, I don't read as much modern. You know, I'm reading more indie nowadays, so it's hard to. Which there's a lot of great indie books out there too. But I would probably say Pierce Brown. I mean, that's probably my favorite series that's still going right now. I don't know. I guess I'll say, I mean, Wheel of Time's my favorite series. So I guess I got to say Robert Jordan. He wrote my favorite series. So I think it's, this back corner right there.
Right.
All his books. So I think I got to go with him. I mean, I'll always have a love for Tolkien too. But I read it so long ago that I don't know how it would really stand up nowadays for me.
Yeah. What's your, I've not read any of the Wheel of Time, so I know nothing about it. Okay. I've watched like 2 episodes on Prime, and I was like, if I ever want to read this, I do not want to watch this stuff. And
that's fan fiction. That's nothing. Yeah. It's nothing like the series.
What's your favorite book out of all? What is there? 15 of them? Is that right? 14?
14. There's 14. There's a prequel. Okay. That's 50. I actually never read the prequel. I'm not a big prequel fan, so I never read the prequel. But my favorite book is probably book 4, The Shadow Rising. It's just where my favorite characters kind of their arcs really kind of take off for the series for the first time. It's really the main 3 guys. You got Rand, Perrin, and Matt, and they just all 3 of their arcs are fantastic. They're my 3 favorites in the series, and their arcs are just absolutely phenomenal in that book. So it would be that one. Otherwise, it's also the end of book 2. So book 2 overall isn't my favorite book. It takes a little bit to get going, but the ending of book 2 is one of my favorite endings in any book ever. It's just fantastic. It was really what launched me into the series. Like that was the moment that I was like, I liked them all. I got to that point, obviously, but that was the moment that I was just like, holy crap, this is really good. Book 3 is really good, but book 4 is probably number 1. But at the same time, when Sanderson finished it,
that's what I was fixing to ask. What do you think
last
of his
couple
stuff?
books. And I'm actually not a big Sanderson fan. I read Mistborn. It was a long time ago. I liked it. I wasn't blown away by it, and I actually DNF'd Way of Kings because I don't know. It might have been the top.
How far did you get into it before you DNF'd it?
I want to say 40 or 50%.
Okay, that's when
I
it
was
starts
also
getting good.
here's an important aspect too. I was also a new father at the time, with my first kid. So I was a little sleep deprived when I was doing it, and I was getting adjusted to parenthood. So that probably played an aspect. But I just remember it just kept. I hit a point at like 40% or 50%, and they introduced a new character, which just felt like the 100th new character it's introduced to me, and I was just like, I can't take this anymore. The story feels like it's going nowhere. I can't take this anymore. I felt like I didn't have the brain power at the time for it, so I put it down and I never picked it up again. It's somewhere. It's
a 1,000-page book where the first 500. It literally, I'm not joking. 500 pages into it, I had no clue what the heck's going on, who anybody is, but something after 500 pages, which is a massive book to anybody else. It's just halfway through it, something clicked. And it was fantastic after that. Book 2 is probably my second favorite book of all time.
Okay. I've heard book
Words of Radiance, incredible. I really, really liked Oathbringer, which is book 3.
Okay.
Book 4, not really a fan of at all. And book 5, I was very disappointed in.
Oh, wait, no. Wind and Truth is book 5? I thought that was book 4.
No, Wind and Truth is book 5. Yeah. Okay. Book 4 is... Well, heck, I can't even see it now. It's behind it. I don't even remember. I was just upset about it. I was like, this is a bunch of just...
I've heard a lot of people were not that happy with the last one.
Yeah.
So listen, that's my only experience with Sanderson. He did a phenomenal job finishing Wheel of Time. I'll give him credit because he...
Is that whole last book nothing but a battle?
It pretty much.
Okay, that's what I heard.
The whole series builds towards, it's called The Last Battle. That's what the whole series builds towards, is the last battle. You're talking about the last battle because it's a prophecy, always constantly kind of talking about the last battle. And literally the last battle is the entire last book. And it's absolutely, that would probably be, if it's not book 4, my favorite, that would be my favorite because it's peak epic fantasy. It's peak. So
Sanderson is known for the Sanderlanche. So is that basically the Sanderlanche, just a book form of it, though?
I never really experienced the Sanderlanche, I feel like, just because I read Mistborn so long ago, I can't really remember it. And, otherwise, Way of Kings was my only other thing, but I don't think it's like a Sanderlanche because he basically, there's 11 books of material before Sanderson took over. In the first, I guess if there was a Sanderlanche, it would be that end 2 books because they kind of just the flow from something kind of happens at the end of the book 12, which was Sanderson was the first one he wrote. That really just kind of sets the page for the ending, and those final 2 are just like it's just a beautiful flow of story from the whole final 2. So I guess you can call that a Sanderlanche, but I know he also went by what was Jordan's plan to finish the series.
Yeah. See, Mark said, I've not read a single Sanders novel. Want to dive into his work, but I feel like if I were to, I'd have to focus on. I had to read 2 books a month to do the entire Cosmere. And you have to stay on that pace to get it done because it's 20, I think it's 22 books, something like that. And as far as books being beefy, it's mainly just the last, the Way of Kings, stuff like that.
His earlier stuff isn't like Mistborn wasn't that.
The rest of the stuff, Mistborn and all them are under,
I think
most of them are under 500 pages.
Yeah. I think they're shorter stuff.
Yeah. All the Way of Kings and Stormlight Archive, all that are 1,000 plus. The last one, Wind and Truth, was over 1,300 pages.
Wow.
And it should have been like 8. Like if he would have nailed it down to like 800 or 900 pages, that book would have been amazing.
Got it.
But it's just got so much fluff and a bunch of crap that don't need to be in it. It's not good, in my opinion.
That's no good. I've heard a lot of people say stuff like that about it.
Yeah.
It didn't give me the drive to go pick up Way of Kings again. That's for sure.
Yeah. I will say, first 3 books are well worth it, especially 2 and 3. After that, take it or leave it.
It's kind of like Game of Thrones for me.
I've not read any of that. I have them all in mass market paperback. I've got to get to. Hopefully,
the first 3 are really good, but 2 and 3 especially. I mean, book 3, that's up there as that's probably in my top 5 favorite reads ever. Is book 3. I think it's a Clash of Kings. It's called. It's just a mind-blowingly good book. But then same thing. Series 4 was like okay, and 5 I thought was terrible, and now the guy's never going to finish the series, so it's kind of a moot point anyway. Should read Red Rising. Red Rising is, Red Rising is kind of seems like it's a love-hate for a lot of people. They either love it or.
Have you read all of them?
Red Rising?
Yeah,
I'm caught up to Lightbringer.
Okay, I've read the first trilogy. First trilogy is the best trilogy I've ever read in anything, in my opinion. Golden Sun is the best book I've ever read.
Which one? Golden Sun?
Yeah.
It's right there for me. I don't know if I'll call it number 1, but it's right there. I love Golden Sun.
Yeah.
Morning Star is really good too. It was fantastic. Yeah. Golden Sun and Morning Star, I burned through those books. I probably read those 2 books in a couple days.
The ending of Golden Sun into the beginning of Morning Star is some of the craziest stuff I've ever read.
Yep.
It is unreal how great
those
2, the ending and the beginning.
Actually, it's part of why I call my book kind of Red Rising, because my book 3, it kind of starts similar-esque to how book 3 started, Morning Star, and kind of the arc for some of the characters there. So it's it is fantastic. Have you read the back trilogy or no?
Not yet. It's on the agenda for, I want to think, the second half of this year.
Okay. I'm not nearly as much a fan of the latter books as the first trilogy. 4
and 5, a lot of people don't like. It seems
I didn't like 4 really at all. I was kind of like questioning why he wrote it. I mean, I got it right when it came out, and I remember being like, why did he even write this? I don't really like it. And then 5 was better. It started off kind of the same, and it got better. The story got interesting, but I still wasn't like, it didn't leave me when I finished it like, oh, I can't wait for the next one. Lightbringer brought it back to its roots. Lightbringer felt like I was reading Golden Sun or Morning Star again. Not quite as good as Golden Sun, but it was right below there. Still a very, very good book. So I'm hoping it's going to finish off really good. But you gotta, if you're like me, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle to get you to that point, because I wasn't that into book 4 at all.
Yeah, just the name of what's going to be book 8, Red God.
Red God. Yeah.
Is that not? I mean, that's a crazy. I love that.
No, it's perfect for the series.
Yeah, it is. See, he said, Red Rising will make you sad, angry, happy, frustrated, annoyed, and then you'll love it. Yeah, that's probably about right.
That's about it. That's what most good books should really do to you. But that definitely will hit.
Have you read Sun Eater? Any of it?
I haven't. I had a lot of people. Actually, Bibliotheory was the one who, after he read The Forsaken Planet, and he told me, he said you should read Sun Eater, and I don't know. I don't know if I'll like it, because I've heard it's very flowery prose and all that, and I used to be a little more into that, but when you have limited time on your hand now, like we do, and I find not much time to read. I feel like I get drawn out and bored of books like that nowadays. So I'm a little worried that'll be my reception of it.
Me and Josh had already overbooked. Are going to do a buddy read on it. Our live is Tuesday. He loved it on book 1, Empire of Silence. I'm not a fan.
Okay.
But everyone says you get through the beginning of book 2. And after that, it gets incredible.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. I've heard that a lot about it.
Yeah. So because I'll say this on his channel too, whenever we go through it, what aggravates me most about that book is there's multiple times when you think there's this big battle that's about to happen, and then nothing happens.
I've heard that's been the criticism I've heard most about it, is like people who don't like it just say nothing happens in the book. There's not that payoff at the end. There's like nothing that really happens in the book. And that's definitely doesn't lead me to want to read it, but I got to give it a try at some point. It's obviously a popular series for a reason, and I might like it. I might really enjoy it. It doesn't, books don't. I'm more an action guy in books, so if like you don't kind of have it, I'm not going to enjoy it. My books are my first book. I wouldn't say as much, but my second and third book are like heavy action. And so it's just I've heard all these things like this, and it leads me to think I probably won't be the biggest fan of it, but I got to still give it a try at some point because so many people do like it.
Yeah, I've got the first 3. They're over there, the broken binding editions on them. So I'm at minimum reading the first 3, but they say book 3, Demon in White, might be the best in the whole series. Either book 3 or book 6 right now.
Okay,
are like the 2 favorites. So if it gets action in it, I'm all in because that's all it. I mean, to me, that's all it's really missing. There's just nothing that happens. Like he tells this whole backstory, and like there's multiple times where, like you're reading first. This gives nothing away. You're reading the book, and he'll be like, so and so, this person, he'll name the name or whatever, come and did this, but later on, he was in this big battle and killed 1,000 people or whatever, and then went on. And that's it. And he just goes on to say something else. And I'm like, why don't we talk about the 1,000 people he just killed? Let's discuss that.
That's kind of the definition of tell, not showing.
Exactly. And I try to think back, like, wait a minute. He started writing this when he was 17. And I think he wrote it from the time he was 17 to like he was 20 or something like that.
Okay.
So I'm thinking maybe that's what it is. And now obviously he's older, he's married, got kids.
I shouldn't criticize because I started mine when I was like 17, 18. I can't remember what I used to work at a full service gas station back then, and I would close at night and it would be dead. And I literally started writing on pieces of paper back then. That's how I started writing mine. But so it's, it's similar of mine. I've kind of gotten things that people have said things like that too, where it's like they can tell kind of where mine picked up a little bit from, don't get me wrong, I heavily edited it and stuff down the road, but they can kind of tell where I was writing as a teenager and then writing more as like someone in my 20s later on.
Yeah. Say, Mark said actions. You should check out Jonathan Mayberry's Joe Ledger series. Nothing but action in every single note. I'll check that out then. I'm a big action guy.
Yeah, me too.
That and good character work, and I'm hooked. That's all I need.
You better read my books then, because
well,
I think they do a good match.
I definitely will. They have you read Robin Hobb? Any?
Yes. Farseer.
I just read book 1.
I read them a long time ago. Like I think I was it's got to be going on 20 years ago. I read them, but I love them.
Yeah.
Remember, I absolutely love them. I read the first trilogy, and then I read the Fool. I think is the next trilogy. Yeah, Fits in the Fool. I think that's the next start of the next trilogy. I read that trilogy. Okay. I bought. I think it's the third one. I think there's another one after that came out. Another trilogy. I bought it, and for whatever reason, I never read it. I think because when it came out, it had been like 12 years since I read the series, and I just was like, I need to go back and read the other books, and I just don't have time to go back and read 6 books to read this one.
I picked it up a few weeks ago on audiobook. I've got it, and I was planning on reading it, but I was so busy at the time, and I'm like, I just need something. So I'm driving down the road for 10 hours a day. So I put it in or downloaded it. It is some of the best prose I think I've ever read. Her writing is beautiful. Just the way she describes just random stuff.
I got to read it again. It's been like 20 years, so I can't even think about what you're saying right now. But I just know it's one when I read it, I absolutely loved it. I devoured it. But this is making me realize I got to get back and do a reread or something soon.
Excuse me. It's like a 17 or 20 hour audiobook, I think. And I did that. I went through the whole thing in like 3 days. I couldn't stop listening to it. It's so great.
Yeah, the story is fantastic too. I mean, that always helps.
Yeah. And like right now he's 14. So I don't know where he picks up at in book 2. I think it's Royal Assassin. I'm assuming he's probably a little bit older than a teenager then, but yeah. So I'll finish that. I'm going to read that whole trilogy in probably in the next 2 to 3 months because it's so dang good.
Nice. Yeah.
So, All right, I got 3 more questions because we are about to hit 2 hours. So, all right, what are you reading right now?
I'm actually reading Abel Montero's book, The
Oh,
Crimson
yeah,
Fire. I'm about 45% in, really enjoying it. It's very good.
I've heard it is.
Um, but yeah, no, there's that, and then I got a couple of sci-fi reads I'm gonna do. I got his as an ARC, and I got 2 other ARCs, and it's just all the end processes with my own book had me not reading for like 2 months. So I'm playing catch up now, but luckily I'm reading Abel's book, which I'm having a very good time with, and it's a lot of fun. And
I just finished Hyperion today,
okay,
and then I'm probably 40 or 50% through with the Pawns of Havoc by Dave Lawson. I got the
okay,
arc for it. It comes out, I think, in like a week and a half or 2 weeks.
okay,
So it's a novella. It's really good. Like
nice.
his writing went way up from book one's good. Don't get me wrong. I love
Yeah,
book
yeah, yeah.
one, but his, like, you could tell the jump
I
to
think that's
that.
the common theme. We all just
Yeah,
get better as we write. That's
yeah.
experience.
I think I'm going to do next week. I'm debating on starting Discovery by Talking Story or John Minton
Oh,
and
okay, yeah,
Stanley
yeah, yeah.
J.J. Minton.
Yep.
Um, he sent me the arc 2 months ago. I think it's been 2 months, and I have not had even a chance to get to it. So, and now the book just released yesterday. I was like, oh, that's great, but
That's how I am, man.
you
I mean,
yeah,
Abel's came out a month ago, and
yeah, yeah.
but I made it known. I got another Amber Toro's book is coming out. Actually, comes out the same day mine does. I have her arc. That's going to be my next read.
I
And
heard
then
Umbra was really good. Did you like it?
it was. I did like Rumbar. Yeah,
And
it
then
was
what is
really
this?
good.
Perplex or something like that? Parallax?
Parallax,
Parallax.
Parallax, or
Okay.
Parallax,
Okay.
Parallax. Yeah, no, I'm really excited actually for her book. I've been excited to get back to it because I very much enjoyed the story. She's got a
Yeah.
very fun, kind of Star Warsy, Battlestar Galactica space opera vibe to it all. So it's
Okay.
and I'm not a big time romance reader, so I was a little hesitant upon that aspect because she pushes it as romance. But it was good. It's not overbearing in the story at all, and it makes sense to the story. So yeah, it moved real well. I liked it.
Yeah. I did The Sorrow of the Wise Man by Bella Dunn. She had sent me the arc of it and then book 1 and 2 of her other series. And I'm not really much of a romance guy neither, and especially political intrigue stuff. And that's what
Okay,
this whole book was. But it was awesome.
was it
Like
nice?
two sisters, basically, one of them scheming to kill the other one, and the other one
Okay.
is being a queen, trying to be a queen. Like it's pretty dang good.
Oh, that
Like I
sounds
was
cool.
impressed. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
So, all right, what is your favorite single book ever?
Oh, I I try not to do this. That's why I kept saying the ones we've been talking about. I keep saying like top 3, top 2.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so hard. I mean, I absolutely loved the Fellowship of the Ring. I mean, I just remember being so engrossed in that book, but I freaking read it when I was like 12 or 13 years old. So and I've never done a reread on it. So it's
But
hard
it shapes you. I mean, that's
100%. So
know.
it's hard for me to sit here and say it's my favorite. I don't know. I mean, then when I was 16, I read Ender's Game, and that blew my mind, and that launched me into sci-fi. So that's another one.
Yeah.
I really don't have a book that I say constantly is my favorite. Like Shadow Rising was that's my favorite series, and that book is just like almost perfect for me. But I still don't call it my favorite book. Golden Sun, another one that I would say is probably as close to perfect of a book as they come for my tastes. I can't pick one. I really can't pick one. I mean, those 4 are ones that are kind of in my ballpark. There's others I'm not thinking of right now. I like a lot of urban fantasies, a lot of the Dresden Files. I wouldn't really put them at the top single books, but I don't know. There's a lot, but those are probably the 4 that are in the ballpark of the conversation.
I've read book 1 of the Dresden Files, and it was okay. Or audio book it, my bad. But everyone says like basically from book 3, I think, is when it really ramps up and gets good.
I want to say it was about there for me. I mean, I enjoyed book 1. I mean, I obviously enjoyed it enough to keep going with it. But yeah, that sounds about right. It definitely is a series where it just gets crazy kind of later in the series. Like hits a point where it's like, wow, this is really, really good.
Yeah. Okay. And then I've not read any of Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit or
I don't know how
Ender's
they
Game.
hold up now. I really don't.
Yeah.
I read them.
I've watched the movies.
I read them before they were ever even thought to be a movie.
Yeah.
I remember I was like, I always used to make fun of my buddies about it because I'd be like, I read these books when they were coming out in movies back then because they were all like, oh, this looks awesome. And I was always like, go read the book if you think it looks awesome because the books are awesome. But yeah, I don't know how it would hold up now. I have no idea. I haven't read a single page of it in over 20 years.
Okay. All right. Last question.
Okay.
What book would you recommend me to read?
My books.
Okay. That's true. I need to.
Well, I think I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of if you like action filled books, you know who you should read. You should read Rob Lee's Pathlighter. It's an indie book.
I've read not it, but I've read Death Metal Bard.
Death Metal Bard.
Oh, I loved it.
Okay, and definitely read Pathlighter because Pathlighter. I mean, probably the greatest thing I could say about that book is how much action Rob put in it, and it didn't. I love a lot of action. We've been talking about that, but at the same time, you can't just have action for action, right? Yeah. Like it's going to bog the story down if you're just throwing action in there for no reason. And the way Rob just had so much action in his story, like it seemed like it was the whole book, but he still moved his story was very masterfully done in my opinion. So that's definitely a book I would recommend if you being an action fan like that.
Yeah. Yeah. He sent me the arc of Death Metal Bard. So dang good. I loved it.
Oh, then you got to read Pathlighter.
Yeah, I need to. I may have it on my Kindle. I need to get to that. So if not, I'll have to go get it for sure.
Nice.
Well, that's all I got. I think we are done.
This was by far the longest one I've done in this stretch, but it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed myself.
I appreciate it. I'll leave this. I'll let you. You got anything else you want to say, or anything about your book about to come out?
Just again, feels like ages ago we talked about the books. Power of the Stars is the series. The Forsaken Planet is book 1. On Tuesday, May 20th, The Dark Element is what is coming out. This is book 3. You can get my novella. It's called The Princess of Oldir. My website, bryanwilsonauthor.com. If you just sign up for my readers list on the website, you can get a digital copy of the novella for free. Other than that, if anyone wants to come and join in on any celebrations on May 20th, the night of my launch, I'm having a pretty cool virtual launch party on FanFi Addict's YouTube channel. Chris, Bearded Book Beast, will be part of it. I got a bunch of booktubers, bookstagrammers, some other authors. Rob Lee's going to be there. I've never done a launch party before. It's my 4th book coming out, so I'm excited for it. And we're going to hopefully have some fun, and I hope people will stop by.
That's awesome.
But yeah, other than that, just going to write away this year, and I got a cool secret project I'm a part of, but can't talk about yet. And that's about it for now. And still thinking about audiobooks up here. That might be something happening, but we'll see.
Yeah. That'll work. Well, all right. That's all I got. Thank you very much for being on the channel. And
thanks for having me.
Y'all have a very good evening.
Yeah.
See you later.